Okay, Empire leading here on your attack once again. SSG opted to start on their defense, and that makes sense. Dostoyevsky can be a very intricate map. It can be very complex, and it requires a lot of coordination. Empire with a Ying removal there. They don't want to play against that across the top floor. They don't want to suffer that barrage. Thatcher is standard. Valk's gone too. It was part of the sort of arsenal of Empire, sure, but it's part of every team's arsenal, especially on Dostoyevsky, where if it's let free,
yeah,
it's a nightmare, those camps.
Definitely so, and you know, some teams actually have an IQ in their lineup every now and then, but not every team has that. And if you give them that Valkyrie to play with in that moment and time, it is not going to be working out too well for you. As you said, especially not on Kafe.
All right, reading room and fireplace. We know fireplace and mining, right? You're going to opt the mid floor has become quite a good spot for a lot of teams. They try and drive their defenses in there instead and see if they can structure themselves some control of the top floor, sometimes a roam on the bottom, pushing their way around Brown and reconvening onto the pillar side. It's a little bit more fluid Kafe than it used to be, but it can still be a bit awkward for defenders if you get caught out. There isn't always an option to get out of there. There isn't always an option with cover as well, with that awkward bout of space of Brown. The three staircases do offer some maneuverability, but it's also a lot of blind corners you've got to take and trust that they haven't set themselves up ready to take care of you.
That's it. Kafe is that very open map with the many rotation possibilities here that Empire, well, they will love it. They chose this for a reason. They want to finish it off here after they have that first map under their belts. The Gaia shields are being set up, and of course the angles are still being created. I'm quickly looking over to see. Yes, we do have that Jaeger on the board. Just wondering. Okay, yeah, the ADSs are coming in to protect the shield. I was afraid for a second that they might not, because the shield was being put down, but the ADSs weren't there yet.
Now, obviously, they have the Goyas, they have those swings, the castle as well. They're building themselves a hefty structure with potential to swing out and keep moving. It allows you to sort of set up these little fortresses. And fortresses, well, a fortress was how Kafe was sort of defined in an older meta. And here, you set yourself up with maneuverability. You sort of put a burst, and, well, I'm going to stop talking about that point because it looks like we're having a rush. Here it is, the fight onto Zulu, a spray back to suddenly buy themselves some time. A sort of panic C4, and Shepard's going to see if he can stick it Scyther with the cover, and there's always on the split there. They've been able to get right behind that hefty machinery. Dan has one more, and starters, you mean to go on, lads? Volt swings down the red stairs and gets a pickup here, but they've already left. They have the window and a pre-fire through the corner. Scyther with a double. Bosco is suddenly all that's left. Gets one. Takes the head off of that swing there, but now in mining behind the chassis and with drones setting up as well. May as well use the utility whilst you got it. Hair jabs too. And this was really Empire making a statement here. They had a read entirely on where this was, and well, pretty much out of time at this point. Bosco's going to see if he can take anybody else with him. Turns tail to the kit, but otherwise forfeit. Well, Empire, hey, welcome to Kafe, they say, but probably in Russian.
Yes, and as many might know, they literally went for the Rush B strategy here. Mining is the B-bomb site there. Managed to get the plan down quite quickly. Opening frag, it could have been a flawless even, if it wasn't, of course, for the final 2 kills that came through. And Empire, they started off strongly. They started off with a rush, and they started off with that pace, and right now SSG is thinking, okay, let's not do that anymore. Let's scratch that one off the list and go to reading room instead.
Defenders, protect your bombs.
Rushes, I mean, rushes from the Russians. They occur. And you get used to them. The cautionary tale about a rush is that it's the communication that becomes a nightmare. And the first time you go through facing that it's a lot of calls happening in a lot of different places. We know of at least 2 different engagements that happened at exactly the same time there. Obviously, the one in Zulu and where the other kill came across, which I think was onto pillars, but I'm not entirely sure, from that window across the bow of the stairs. Either way, it's messy comms, scrappy comms, in amongst the chaos. It's tough to find yourself. The second time, those calls are clearer because you've already sort of experienced it. You've gone through the manic mania, and you know it's nobody's first time suffering a rush, but first time on a map is sometimes a little bit jarring.
First time in a series as well, as we haven't really seen any of those quick plays over the clubhouse attacks as well. But it's a good start for Empire. I mean, they just got their first attacking round on the board already. Now they have 5 more normal rounds, you can almost say, to get some more. So they'll more than happily take that. It is, I'm going to say it again, a mistake they can't afford to make later. I said this the previous time, and every mistake possible was being made by Na'Vi. I might have cursed him there. Either way, top floor will be approached first, so the hatches will be opened up, and you can already instantly see it's in more traditional kind of take. We don't see 5 Russians jumping through the windows and trying to get the plant down. No, we just see them opening up the hatches, try and get rid of the utility, and as they do that successfully, it's the first go shield to be removed. It forces Rampy to play a little bit more passively, but the rotation they have, he needs to be careful, because it could be picked up from the actual skyline if it's being watched. As Empire is trying to flush them through here with that Twitch drone, trying to make some damage happen, they are looking still for their first kill.
Dropped in, top of red, and they start to pitter-patter rainfall their way down the stairs. They're going to see if they can get some solid ground here and go for the bit of width before they start pressuring and putting points onto the board across them. They are looking for those players. If they can at least force them out of position, then they get the clarity of the ground. But SSG can go for those give and will take it back a little bit later plays. And they put them perfectly against Na'Vi, and well, Dan just had a missed opportunity there on Fultz, who was a little bit wide, but he slips away with his life intact. And as I said before, that retake game that Empire did so well and won them Clubhouse, it's not unknown to SSG.
It's definitely not. 70 seconds on that clock. There is still no entry on either side, and that means that Empire needs to make a push happen soon. The time is starting to run out, and they haven't really gotten to their vertical play as of yet. So Scyther now sneaking up on the bars in the perfect position to get that first kill locked in. Stuns are coming through, but knows that no one is actually there at the very first instant, and the drops are coming through the hatches. I think everybody has just fallen back except for a single player on top of the planks. It's Bosco playing close with a shotgun here, about to be swinging as well, but as soon as he tries to go for a bit, he gets picked up. It's the instant trades that come through, however, but still in favor of Empire, as always picks up a kill right after.
Houghton just looks away at the worst possible time there, 30 seconds, and Fultz potentially eyeing up more of a lockdown there on that stair set on the far side. They're trying to crack themselves an angle in the back of reading, whether they open up what sounded like pillars just below and see if they can slip and sliver their way in to get this diffuser down. Rampy, he's about to find a fight here on red. They seem aware of each other, but with 14 seconds, Dan cannot really dilly-dally this cover as Shepard is going to try and stick it. There's a little bit of a fight there that happens on the backside, but there it is. Dan is able to get one. It's just that single player, and suddenly Scyther pops up at the last possible second to get that kill onto a Goyo that really went all or nothing.
Bit of a heart attack there, and indeed he managed to get the diffuser down on the ground. Just was unaware of the Zofia still coming around the corner. And Empire to pick up a 2-0 here. Good start. Yeah, once again, and as the top floor is being picked up now by the side of Spacestation, it is Empire that basically escapes with the round. I mean, they went for a plant, they got the cover from the pillar side of things. However, no one was in a position to stop anyone from inside the side itself. A massive oversight, which luckily got corrected quickly by Scyther, who picked up that final kill. That's headed towards the top floor now. There's less worry about people being on multiple floors. I mean, you could still have the occasional player below with a C4 to try and stop the plan from happening. Hot and cold that would be in this instance. But it is generally a more forward and horizontal attack.
SSG, the first two have gone away from them at various different pace. They were so close to that second one, but at the same time, it was still these sort of Hail Mary retakes that we talked about they're capable of. Usually, though, when they were up against Na'Vi earlier on the day, they were a little bit more confident, a little bit more coordinated and controlled, and it seemed like Empire had an idea of the number. Dan was still waiting for that rotator for Jaeger. With 15 seconds left, it's a bit of a gamble to have that player there, and obviously won that fight, then won the cover that came around onto pillars as well. His importance in that position was paramount for two reasons. One, he won the engagement, and two, he obviously knew that that was how SSG wanted to pull it back, and that's an important fact for a team that loves pulling these sort of rounds back.
That's it. Bit of pressure coming down here on the balcony. Don't know what he was actually shooting at there. It's not like there is a camera outside. I don't know.
Ghosts.
Maybe ghosts. Maybe you're seeing ghosts. I don't know. Those Valentine's, not Halloween, right?
Oh, right, true. Keep it then.
Maybe it's
hasn't got time for Valentine's. There's Siege to play.
Gotta play Siege now. Gotta win the 6th Invitational first. As hatches are being opened up, the pressure surely will come down soon after as well. First Goyo shield already blown up inside of the freezer. It's off your screen, but the second one is still located around the pixel area, and that one is currently being occupied as well. Dan is coming around the corner with that Twitch drone. We'll shortly see as well that there is people out there. That's a disc that he will spot out and kill. Now we'll be jumping right through the rotation, see if there's any other piece of utility there. Smoke does not spot him out. Now probably will be aware of his position as the disc gets picked up, but the grenade drops through and we'll be able to pick up the shield, as both and all shields now have been taken care of.
I mean, that was so clean, and it was that little moment of the Twitch drone just being able to get it under the feet, a bit of a miscrossed path, but there is still a fresh disc that's just been placed on the corner of those brown sulfurs, so one more swing potentially through from that side might go amiss. The fake Gemini is removed off the board. Not the real Iana, but the real Iana is there. In the hands of Joystick, he's looking to try and apply some pressure onto Cigar. More of the players are dropping in. They're getting themselves that width of an angle. They're seeing if they can try and just take out a player and get themselves into a bit of a risky position, but SSG aren't trying to hand them anything. They're not entirely falling back. They know the positions they need to hold, but Skies is trying to stick there for as long as possible. He cannot take, obviously, a usual rotate into bathroom, so instead has to either opt for the white corridor or just this position, and well, he's kind of adamant he wants to stay here for now. Sees the first fight and the pre-fires come his way, is still going to stick around for now and wait for a swing background on the opposite side. As long as he's there, he's a problem, and as long as he's there, Empire cannot progress.
Rampy is still down below as well, and Skies tries to go aggressive right here. Takes a lot of damage. Joystick actually from the smoke as well, but he gets the kill with the grenade, and that opens it up. That's now the freezer area cleared out. They can push through from the actual wide area and hope to push into planks and potentially lock them out from the back here. It's a rotation to come through that gets caught off, and it's a 5-on-3 situation. A double entry in a plant will be attempted. They have to be careful though. Rampy is coming up from the very back as Saito picks up one more kill. It's only up to him now in a 1v3 situation. Finds the first. Needs to find 2 more if he wants to bring this back for the side of Empire. Spots the head, but actually doesn't register it. And it's going to be Empire that will be locking off that round as well, with a plant and a very clean execute.
That was suddenly violent. That was one of those moments where you were trying to piece together all of the stories that were coming together, and there was the fight that happened underneath an important win. Rampy, I think, picked up a 2K that round potentially. There was, yep, there it was in the top right corner, but at the same time, Shepard sticking the diffuser. Faults almost went big, pulled off one, but then got traded out. If he'd have been able to find that second connection, Empire fall apart. It was sort of 3 different firefights happening in 3 different places at exactly the same time. But Empire just winning out on their ones, having that trade potential of being able to get rid of that opening body with the grenade meant that the eye for the eye, they're the one that's left with the singular eye. Down to mining once again. They're not going to take their tack time out. They're still sort of sitting through this. They think that they'll be able to withstand the storm. I think if they drop this one, then it's time to have a conversation and see if they can reset the pace, because you want to stay in the upper bracket, and before they had a tack time out and they were able to really get their heads into gear.
You want to stay in the upper bracket, and if you win this one, then you definitely need to have a talk and potentially bring it down to kitchen. Last time we were in mining and dining. Of course, it was a rush to come in from the Russians. That we will see that now again as well. No Nomad on the board, first of all, which was an operator they used to guide and make sure that swings wouldn't be as beneficial for the defenders as they could otherwise be. As they see an eye right now on still what seems like a west take. It is not going to be as quick as it otherwise could be, and will potentially focus on that top floor first.
Empire, they're heading their way to the top. They are sort of prepping their angles down here as well. A Gun 6 just popped the castle, I believe, was on that door and that swing round, so they're giving themselves those options for later on, and then it starts above. The pressure on those players, and as I said, you know, you can't really pull off those quick plays twice, but there is a lot of utility to burn through onto the corner of Pixel. It's a big power position, because you sort of need the verticality on this side. It offers itself a lot more than, say, the take and the verticality onto the other library side, and there goes that Goyo, a quick burn and burst, but they're able to pull back, and we know that SSG players can hold on to that longer than arguably they should.
Yeah, for sure, but the first shield has been taken out. There's still a second one out there. I'm not quite sure if there's an extra Gun 6 available for Empire to take out the Goyo shield that's inside the bathroom. Either way, it looks like they'll be pushing in from the piano side of things. And there was a player just shortly right underneath the skylight, has fallen back in the meantime to head towards the bars. And as default cams are being taken care of, this Twitch drone is not going to be able to sneak through. I was going to say otherwise might be able to pick up that Goyo shield. And it seems that Dan is now going to try and attempt that, but also loses that one as Fultz is quite close. So 2 players in a very close proximity. Bosco, that's inside the freezer, is looking over to find an angle on these players of Empire as soon as they start pushing in, and one near the pixel.
Yeah, maybe didn't expect the second player in that position, but SSG, they've kept themselves alive for this long, and Empire, they're looking for a little bit of an answer here. They're trying to find a way around onto this side push, and it's going to be to try and force that bathroom player. Always finds Rampy. There's obviously still the second player up here, a bit of vertical. Did they just take that C4? My word, Dan! What a connection with a moving object. And, well, that C4 is unfortunately a bit wide there from Hot, and they've been able to do some damage and devastation and get the vertical control, but they have to make use of it. 47 seconds on the board, and now it starts to be a bit of a clear over reading to see if they can find that loose Goyo of Hot and Cold.
A double entry has been made yet once again. Empire have 35 seconds left. The time is starting to dwindle very shortly here, so they need to find whatever is left in the hands of SSG that they can use to stop these plants with. And I think it will be mainly Skies hiding in this close corner here on the B-bomb site. That is not going to be caught off by any verticalities here. It's Joystick that finds the kill, so Diffuser that gets dropped, but he gets spotted out. The shotgun is attempted from a long-range angle, but a 10-second wallbang comes in from the back. He finds one. Skies needs to go aggressive, misses the first shot, gets it eventually, but always from the back is going to be able to lock it off, an Empire.
Out is done, and we head down to Kitchen for the first time in this showdown. And the Nomad has changed out. Was locked for Dokkaebi for a second.
Okay, this might indicate another semi-fast pace rush. I'm not saying directly onto the site, but it might be to get control of Kojak or a VIP, where you use that call to at least distract and get that sound cue to know whether or not they're there, or if they're in the left or right corner of the room, and if they're moving about or not.
Well, there's no better way to immediately undo a team talk than with some aggressive pace.
Exactly.
But at the same time, at this point, Empire, they know what they need to do. They're obviously confident enough for this. Obviously, SSG opted to start on their defense, so they felt like they could put a little bit more of a distance here. And you know, if they find themselves on a 5-1, let alone a 6-0, that makes things very tricky, because then you're looking at having to win, you know, the majority of your attacks. You're looking at having to win exactly the pressures of second pick sites, let alone potentially a first pick site on a defense, rather than just the potential weakest tertiary. Dan is going to see if he can find anything on Coat Room. They have a bit of a stretch out all the way, always knocking in onto small bake and getting that width potentially to a bakery player if there is. There is some players on the roof too. It's a bit of a wide stretch.
It's just a singular person on the site right now. They have one on Code and one on the red stairs, so overall, site pretty weak. They could just manage to storm in. No one in VIP, no one on that back side. So really hope that verticality, I was going to say, really hope that the verticality is there. And it is being created still, not completely in place. And as they do start to check this top floor, they'll find out that there is no one out there for now. And they can start pushing towards that first floor. But again, if they do figure out that there's only one person on the site currently, okay, along with some long sight lines that could be challenged from Colt, this could be Empire just deciding to completely bypass everybody and hit the site.
Well, Dan finds Hot and Cold, and that was an attempt. I don't know if that was a rotate up or a rotate down. I'm assuming based on the position of Joystick, a rotate up.
That's up.
And then they've been able to catch him off there, and you know, the Malusi's gone, Hot and Cold hasn't quite been able to dig into this game's gone. There's one more for the trouble. Bosco is caught out as well. They'll obviously have access to the cams as soon as they drop down and pick up that receiver and find where the players are, but they've just seen a sliver of one. And you can see already Dan is looking to eye up the pick and the pitch on the far side. Rampy's trying to keep himself alive. He's curious about, well, pretty much every direction at this point, because the pressure could come from multiple different places. A call comes through. Dan gets the vague echoes of that, but as long as Rampy can hold onto this verticality, then those site players are a little bit more safe from a lot of the angles of danger. You can see that there's a bit of a width that might be coming through here to go pressure against Dan and go for something of a retake. It's Fultz, who's just going to sliver his way up, but stops just shy.
quite confused as to why they're trying to make their way up now. Always is still working on some verticality. They want to fight Folds out here, who spots out one player, but gets dropped on. Always just takes him out, and Rampy still in the mining area is going to take the fight to Shepard now. He's carrying the diffuser. He cannot afford to die, not with 35 seconds left on the clock, so he will quickly rotate out. Someone else gets expended to try and pick up that kill, as Shepard now needs to drop. It's only up to Skies now, who is in that side. He knows that the drop came through, but the shield is not working with him here. It's two players around the corner. He gets the first. There is going to be a second as well, and one pushing right through the hallway. Flashbangs going around the corner. He needs to swing with the shotgun, but he gets swung on himself. It's Joystick that picks it up, and it's Empire with a near flawless round that will be able to take the lead with a 5-0 currently.
They're so chill.
They're so chill about it.
They're so chill about it.
When a LATAM team wins a round, everybody starts screaming. NA, exact same thing. Empire, oh, it's another day at the office, I guess. Let's just calm it down, boys. Get the win. After that, we can give each other a high five. That's it.
That's all you need. But it's just clinical. It's so well put together. The way that they're finding out the sort of cuts that they need to make. Obviously, I think the scariest moment they've gone through there was the sledge drop directly onto a player.
I didn't think they expected that to happen.
I don't think either of the two players expect that, but Empire were the ones that were able to stay standing. And yeah, that Alder, it's a hell of a gun, but it is not a quick one to move around in that situation. And close proximity panic, it's not really what it's built for. Mining is going to be our last turn. Mining is going to be our last sort of setup here, and obviously Sky's almost pulled off a heck of a moment previously, but almost as far away from what Empire's been able to do here. They are 5-0 up with a pace that has varied from within the first 30 seconds to all the way down to 3 seconds left. They've made sure it matters. Can SSG just find one way to give themselves an extra life on their attack?
I think this is the scary part as well, right? When you're playing against Empire and they can just either rush you in the first 30 and win the round there, or they can leave it till the last 3 seconds and be just as calm and cold-blooded killers as they are within those first 30 seconds. Like, what do you do against it at that point?
Panic.
What I do know is if Empire proceeds to continue this map like this, I don't think, just a hunch, that any other team in the tournament is willing to play Kafe against them.
Yeah. I mean, okay, some Latin American teams could play a pretty spicy Kafe.
Yeah.
But it is a great Empire map, and they're sort of proving it here. Obviously, we'll get the taste of them on their defense, and SSG, they just got to try and find a way, and if they can get this precious one round and make sure they don't have to flawless on the opposite half. They've come back from a 5-1 down before, but granted, it was on Club. It was on a map that they've lost in this series that almost went all the way, and it's also worth sort of taking into consideration that they did play a long series earlier today, SSG.
They have. They played a full best of 3. I like actually how Joystick was looking at the cam while he was sneaking up just to make sure they have no clue. Is he going to hit the side directly, or is he just going to move up wide? I think he's going all the way up, and he's going to have the opportunity. No, he gets picked up. Hot and Cold is going to save their life. Otherwise, it would have been the death of Fultz.
That was it. Hot and Cold just had that moment, that reaction, whether he knew that that player was there or had a bit of a sniff in the air of it. Either way, that was a huge moment there, because otherwise that player on Pixel was very likely about to be dropped. Always, he's setting himself up and finds a fight and a freebie there. Bosco back to the window just after it got shot open. And well, that's a bit of a blow there. They still have the player outside. Fultz is going for a pistol swing. Can't quite find the connection. A C4 might be attempted here by Hot, but he's kind of thinking about potentially jumping out. There is obviously the Nomad. There's the air jabs, and there's a Rampy. The grenade from Always cooks its way in over the top. They've been able to pull themselves back and swung in there to the fight. Is looking for all of it against the Mozzie. It's pistols at dawn, and well, the C4 is gone at this point. They know they've got a caution about it, and Fultz is throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, out the window.
The aggression is currently off the boards here. SSG is really trying to take the fight to the outside. They remember that game back during the previous 6 Invitational where Cyclops played this map against Empire. They realized, oh, if we don't let them get in the building, we might find some success. As a punch-in right here is going to tell Dan to go for the pre-fire, but he gets picked up instead. It's an injure. But Dan Fultz needs to go outside the building. Will not be punished, at least for now, but his position is well known. So we might see the remaining Empire players get into a position to cut him off later on.
That was it. I think Dan was so low health. He had a second there where they just sort of almost passed right by each other, but the spray and the spray back, to be fair, Fultz wasn't much higher. It's just in that situation, it just takes a scrape and a scratch. Scyther finds one. Faults is dropped on the rotation background, and a revenge for the earlier kill. Now they're just pre-firing everywhere. There's a mining reveal and a camera on the far side. The fight on the chassis doesn't quite get the full connection for the defender or the attacker. They're dancing either side. Hot and Cold gets it, but now the pressure's coming in either side. A great take. One more!
Hot and Cold!
Hot and Cold pops off when they need him the most, and they have that single round lifeline. One buffer for the next half in their attack on Kafe.
Hudson with the 3 or 4K, I'm not quite sure what it was right there, but he at least saves them around there as he shuts down 3 in a row. I was going to say, that's that first freebie he managed to get. After that, grenade even came around the corner, and just imagine if Fultz would have been taken out before. It would have been a 4v2 with that case. And Hudson just here picking him up one by one. It was a quad kill in the end. And now we're going to Bar. Empire deciding to go up to that top floor first. Have 4 rounds of an advantage, but if I quickly hop back over to the previous game we did, which was Na'Vi versus SSG, yes, a 5-1 lead for Na'Vi as well, which then turned into not a single round won afterwards.
But that was
the attack.
That was the other side. That was the other half. That was Empire now going into their defense, rather than Na'Vi succeeding off the back of theirs. And that was on Club, not Kafe. Not a place where Empire have been able to really put down a statement for how back and forth the last map was. A 4-2 on the half, all the way to a 7-5 by the end. It almost went there. It played all regulation rounds. Here, Empire just need 2. Just need 2 to try and connect here on their defenses, and well, they're going to see if they can start it on the top floor of Bar.
And that's it. The top floor of Bar is where they choose to go first. And there is a pretty default way to take this. Often start at red, then slowly into piano and cigar. And after that, you hope to push the white staircase with the hallway, of course, and the bar itself. And very little times do you see any variations of it. So C4 ready to go. That is going to fly right over, but it's way too late. And it's not going to be able to pick up Rampy. As a result, he will live to fight another day, and 1C4 less to worry about.
Yeah, Rampy was doing it with the safety of the buck range, so he could take that at a more awkward angle. They couldn't quite get the swing onto the C4 they wanted to, and you know, they also went for the one that Dan was directly under first. Couldn't quite get himself swung around. Faults putting pressure on the bottom of white. Let's see if he can start popping his way up here, but they're also going to be met halfway, and there's a Rudy with a bit of a white swing. Scyther tried to say hello. And, well, he's instantly told, no, not yet. We'll have this fight a little bit later, and he's pulled back. Faults has been able to take a little bit more ground, and Faults has been able to take a little bit more body. Joystick dropped around reading, trying to swing his way through, and that's a verticality now he's got to pay a bit of an awareness to.
And for sure, Fultz watching from below as well, watching the hatch, seeing if he can maybe eye up a kill here. Puts down that Claymore, which will give away his intentions there, surely. It has been heard by the player right next to it, who have rotated out in the meantime. By the way, Empire is defending this from the piano side of things rather than the bar side of things. So a repel in could totally happen on Sky's behalf, who is with that diffuser in that area.
Dan, he's heading his way along white, and there's obviously a player out there at the moment in time, or at least off to the side, and he's just checking if that's entirely being watched. There's obviously some structural work being done underneath. They're clearing everything out for an east take. They're making sure that all of it is done, and it puts them in a very tricky situation.
Yeah, as the repellent seems to be nearing in, Skies wants to go for a diffuser plant, but he decides to go for a bit of a rotate around. They're not quite sure whether or not they can go for it yet. A double repel up on that window now as they are looking to see and find the entry. Grenades are being tossed in to see if someone is inside the freezer. Well, there is, just not in that angle that you just checked. We didn't see the Maestro further on, but Bosco will be able to pick up that kill. It's going to be a crucial one, and then will be picked up as well. SSG start this off perfectly and are looking to make a plan happen here.
Scyther is a bit held at bay here, but the pings come around on the backside. They still have the repel. They've really just been muscled out of the bar site. Shepard finds the first, finally breaks an SSG player, and the second is just slipping past. Scyther almost had the first engagement, but now there's a high chance he might be the last one. Still with the repel outside, still with the player just close, and they have the position underneath as well, so if a rotate comes around on either side, it's going to be watched. There's a drop. Skies has that bearing, has that ready and raring to go. The upside down repel means that Shepard's not going to have a clean route in. There's at least one. but with 15 seconds and 3 more to find, and they're all around you. The fight is on Cigar. Great take, but out of time at this point to be able to get the diffuser. SSG take their first defense with a pretty strong hold against the Eastern Front.
Yeah, the Eastern attack really working out there. I mean, the opening said it all, and after that, every Empire member kind of fell back from that area. And I think that's due to the fact that they knew, all right, SSG is going to start opening up now. They're going to use that buck to open up the complete cocktail bar, which truly means that if we stay put there, we're just going to get picked off one by one. And thus they decided to go aggressive towards the piano, still hoping that the approach would be coming down from the red area. In the end, they did not. And Empire will decide to not go back there straight away. The reading room is going to be where they head to next. But they have to make sure that they don't lose an important roamer like that if it forces you to rotate all to a different side of the site.
So, SSG, you open with a round, and you got to see if you can thread more together. You've obviously got the ones either side of the turn of the half, which gives you a good mental boon, but there's still a lot left to do. It was a very well put together take. They knew exactly what they wanted to try and crack open, and it just forced and shepherded the Empire players out of position. They were suddenly on the far side of the world. They were suddenly struggling to get themselves entirely locked in and couldn't find a way to rebuff the approach of the Americans.
Definitely not. An Empire, well, they still have 3 rounds of an advantage and only need 2 more in the next 5 to secure themselves a 2-0 victory. Surely they don't want to go down the same path that Na'Vi went down before here. Otherwise, I'm going to start to doubt it might be an EU curse. Empire. Slowly setting themselves up on that top floor and also on the middle one. Ensure themselves that they can hold on to this site. No verticalities being made as of yet towards the actual bomb site, so nothing to stop a potential plant, because if you manage to live long enough, you can always make them if the plant starts to happen and be more successful with it. Whereas if you make them at the start of the round and you lose control, that is going to be a free way for the attackers in that matter. Interesting opening there made on the piano to Red Stairs wall. Is going to be making it a little bit more difficult to go for a drop of the SSG players. Afraid of the fact that they might be picked up by a player inside the piano. Fultz is already on the top of the Red Stairs though. The drops are coming through. They now know no one is inside piano and will gladly take control of it. Jump out back on from Rampy. Opened up that rotation. Knows his job is done there and continues to head on to the next point he needs to be.
SSG, they obviously have to try and capitalize on the pace because they do not have otherwise the time to reset it. Always takes a huge bout of damage there, potentially from above. It looks like there is a player in that position, but it's Fultz that actually finds the first spray around. No, it wasn't a player. It doesn't matter though. There is a sudden pickup. Dan at least stops Fultz, but not before. He's been able to find his second for the round, and look what they've taken out. The smoke as well. Joystick in a scrappy fight, and Rampy suffers, but there is that swing round onto the Balk side. There's more SSG players that are setting themselves up, and Joystick still has utility he can pull his way back to. No presence on the eastern windows as of yet, but there is a white stairs body. By the looks of it, I'm not sure if that was inside or outside. He's just making sure that nobody goes for the rotate. It's the Nomad, obviously with the air jab capabilities to ensure their own safety, but they're sort of waiting for a rotation to be forced.
In the meantime, the bar is being taken here by the SSG players. Flashbangs are coming around the corner. The ADSs are not currently picking them up, and that means they can try and push forward now. You see a little bit of an opening being made there, and as it's only up left to Dan now, a double kill from SSG leads through. Posco will be able to pick up that final kill, and yet again, it is going to be SSG that starts their comeback. Only 2 rounds of a difference now between them and Empire. And Empire, they quickly need to reconvene to see what exactly is happening right now. It's not going to be a tactical timeout just yet. I expect that to be in the next round if they lose that as well.
Yeah, before the advantage changes hands, they'll potentially have a conversation here, but SSG, these attacks so far, they've both been very, very sharp. They've been able to sort of isolate the problems they need to take care of. They've got all the prep. They've got all the rundowns and the defenses that are being put before them, and what seemed like an insurmountable task in the first half is becoming a little bit more possible, and, you know, there's still Empire for trying and dig themselves in. They've still only 1 round away from potential series point, and 2 rounds away from the series itself, and that's something that SSG's always got to be aware of, but sometimes the pressure is the hottest the closest you are to the sun.
All right. 5-3. Empire still 2 rounds away as SSG is mounting their second comeback of the day. Yesterday, when the pressure... this morning, when the pressure started to rise, when they were playing up against Na'Vi, they were 5-1 down on the clubhouse and managed to bring it back. After that, Na'Vi wasn't able to win a single attacking round anymore. Empire right now find themselves on a 5-3 lead, which was a 5-1 on the back of their attack, but now need to win these defensive rounds in what seems to be a very attack-sided map so far. Fun fact, every single kill in this map, opening kill that is, led to the round eventually. That goes 5 times for Empire, 3 times for Spacestation Gaming.
That is a fun fact. Let's see if it comes true for the rest of this as we start to see the approach from the top. Pace being applied here. They're able to get in, get the defaults dropped, and try and get themselves some control here now. Can they try and find a single Empire player? There seems to be no one up here, at least as far as Hotton's able to tell, and they feel confident to actually send that buck in behind and start trying to apply that pressure, as all of them are actually all the way downstairs. They're not going to go for too high of an extension. The closest here is Joystick, who was on a drone there behind the plant pot that he wasn't quite fully aware of, but at least had the wherewithal to pull himself back as they're continuing their hot drone all the way down. And now, very quickly, within that opening minute, they've got themselves here prepped and ready on the second story to start their approach to the bot.
Drops are coming through already, and so they know they need to head to that kitchen. A minute and 48 seconds left on the clock, and some verticality is being attempted right now. This is the difficulty of the defense here. As soon as all these default angles will be opened up, suddenly there's not much to play for anymore. And due to the fact that there were no roamers on the side of Empire, and there still isn't, there is quite literally no one on the site currently. The VIP player is the most important one at this moment in time because he has the opportunity. Dan has the opportunity to stop any jump in from that staircase, but he will be receiving pressure very soon here as they're trying to take care of these bulletproof cameras on the side of SSG. There's still 70 seconds left. There's so much time on their hands, and shortly they will start their execute after they've found these yokai drones.
That's it. The first is revealed, and will he get the angle? There it is. Zapped and removed, and they're going to just go on a little bit of hunt for the second. Hidden in little nooks and crannies, ready to try and cover some of this plant. Shepard, well, he's still got the other one in pocket. And that's the play right now. He's waiting for them to think the pressure's all clear. He's waiting to see if he can get himself stacked up and maybe get that thrown a bit closer, but this is where he might find himself under a little bit more pressure than he was before. Long arming. Some of those were my discs all the way down into the drop, and smoke canisters too, 30 seconds, and without having the clear on the bodies, it's going to turn into a hot drop. They take it, the smoke goes through, and now they're in sight. Skies is going to see if he can slink his way too, but with the Echo where he is, he can just throw that over the top. The Echo drone's able to stop one, and Skies gets dropped. They retake, but the spray comes through. The Echo still in a position here. He needs the cover and support of Dan to make sure he doesn't get dropped and keep himself focused, but look at Rampy on the far side, and Folt's getting one more, 10 seconds, and that Echo is in a little bit of a tricky situation right now. Joystick is offering some support. Shepard is his own, and with 5 seconds left, a 2 versus 2, no kit in hand. They've got to go for a very quick aggressive take here. They can't quite make the distance, and Empire sit on series point.
There it is, series points. They need one more in the next 3 to ensure themselves of their continuation in that upper bracket, and they would send SSG down after they've already had a rough game in the morning against Na'Vi, but Empire is looking to be that European team that continues that dream. A good use of utility there, actually. It was fun to see because no one was actually in the side. Smoke canisters were used to ease up the players that went for the inside at that moment. And then the yokai came out, got a stun out, and you instantly saw someone run over with a pistol to go for the assassination on the planter, making sure that the diffuser is dropped cold, and they will have to put someone in a place where they can pick it up again. And the time slowly started to dwindle on the side of SSG, where they had so much time at the start of the execute, 1 minute and 20 seconds. They ran out of time in the end due to the fact that the Empire members were basically skirmishing all around the site, not really giving them a way back in.
So SSG, you just need 3 now. But you need 3 now. You need to have a perfect take across a rotation of sites here to get yourself to OT, let alone block out this map. And again, I'm not entirely sure it's a flip of the coin or a preference of the team whose map it isn't. But at this point, if you've chosen to lead in on your defense in OT, you're probably regretting that decision based on how this game has gone. heftily into the favor of attackers.
Yeah, you definitely will. I mean, there's some teams that are like, all right, well, if we start off on attack and we make it to OT, that means we probably would be okay continuing on attack. You know, there's multiple ways around it. Some teams just go straight for the preference. Some play it on their first starting site so they can switch that pace a little bit. Because if you couldn't close it out on that half that you just finished on, you might be able to do it on the half that you started on. Either way, it is, again, going to be that top-down approach. We are in reading, we are in dining. It means there is going to be that verticality. And the last time around, we did see some stuff being quickly given away by Empire, which I was confused about. So I really hope to see that they're not doing that again. I hope that they're putting up the fight. Maybe even commit 1 or 2 players to literally die on that spot if they have to, but just to make sure that SSG is not going to be able to just waltz through like that.
Fault's putting pressure there onto Pixel and just forcing any player that might be there out. That Bulletproof survives for now, and that's a little bit of an irritant as he wiggles his way up to the top because he's used a lot of his gadgetry and abilities to try and clear that corner. Now they're going to see if they can just try and put some flat pressure here across. Hot and Cold is here to offer some support. It's a long firefight to Joystick on the back line with Scyther holding down on White. They have that little bit of width, and you can see Shepard is actually rotating in directly underneath potentially to try and just offer something back in and make sure they don't just sliver their way down, as full red control is now in their favor.
Yeah, they have full red control. It's starting to go into Piano as well, and always is hearing that red pinks are coming down upon him. He's taking small amounts of damage here, but manages to escape with his life, and as he does get spotted out on a drone, is quickly changing directions as well. Could still be of use. Dan opens up. Very important here, because so far still opening kills lead to round wins in the end. There's yet to be an exception for that. And as he finds Fultz, it's still one of those key members out of play as well. It's one of those LMGs that no longer will swing around the corner. Hot and Cold will soon be aware of the player on those brown stairs, though, as he's knocking on the door of the site.
Knocking on the door indeed, and might not know about the player on brown. Goes on and sends in the Gemini replicator, but with Rampy holding off Zulu and verticality's not in their control, it's going to have to be a bit of an aggressive dash here. They're seeing if they can lock in Pillar's wall. They're going to see if they can get this popped open. The grenade goes wide towards anyone that might be on the back ballast of the rotate onto Laundry. They slink their way through, turn the first firefight. Can't quite get it entirely locked in, and there it is. Joystick with a drop down. Bosco battles back, but there's a player just on the opposite side. Everybody's blinded and stunned with Joystick going down. Skies doing big work, and suddenly SSG has stormed the site and been able to retake Mantle, but Scyther is above and always is on a swing, undetected, undeterred. It's an important take now. Gets the first, and with only a handful of seconds left, they find the pond. They can't get it. SSG survive just one more round, and it was a heck of a storm through.
Indeed, storm through there, and due to the lack of verticality for Empire, they weren't quite able to find that plant from happening up above. So they were forced to drop, they were forced to take the horizontal gunfights, and where they took one, they had no clue that the plant was going down at the position it did go down in the end. And that leaves us 6-4. SSG is continuing their comeback here, and Bar will be chosen next. A site that wasn't won by Empire, rather they gifted control to the complete east side, to the side of SSG, who gladly made use of it. And that is something they need to make sure they don't do again. They need to hold on to it. And it all started with the roamer they lost at the bottom floor. That is what lost in that round, and that is what they need to prevent from happening, or double up. Bring 2 roamers potentially, or create some verticalities. There's multiple ways around it. But if you're afraid of the buck opening up, you either need to step it up and take the fight to him, or try and directly counter him.
Empire, just one separates you, and you do still have that time, that moment to have a communication. You are so close to being able to wrap up this day after SSG have had quite a long one. And to be fair, if SSG take this map, well, that day is going to get even longer. That's something they've got to be prepared for. They've played long days and long series before, but 2 best of 3s, not entirely back-to-back.
No. Had a 3-hour break, which is, of course, very nice. Not always you get that opportunity.
No.
Close qualifier, Eminem had to go almost right afterwards.
Yeah.
Play 8 maps in a row with just, I think, 30 minutes break in between. That was absolutely brutal. So at least SSG has had some time to prepare for Empire here. Either way, again, Top floor is the site. And last time it was a complete east take coming in from the Space Station side after Empire gave away complete control. See a lot more utility actually, or players from Empire playing around that east side. It's Scyther on the white stairs, for example, that has a Rooney that could just jump out if there's any repels on there with just a single punch. We also still have the player below. Might be spotted out by a drone soon, as Rampy is trying to get her some information around here. But Joystick tries to stay hidden as best as he can.
Well, they're able to get a little bit of a breach, but the mute jammer stops the second, falling and filtering its way down. Rampy's there to do a little bit of quick work. There's the ping, there's the spot, and that'll get finished and opened up all the way. It's still being sort of pinged there. He's concerned he's going to get swung on, and there was a player actually going for the slow creep, but he's already done what he needs to do. And he makes sure he gets out of there somewhere safe that he can be stacked up and ready to support. There's a bit of a reveal, a bit of a drone game there that's coming through against it, and oh, Dan takes the head off of Rampy with a blinding shot. Throughout and up onto the stairs, and now they've got a little bit of an awkward hole to try and hop through because they're concerned about the breach that was opened below. Without that control, there's always, well, as we heard, a distant explosion and the rattle of a C4.
Not quite sure if they're worried about it or if they just cannot jump through, because you saw quite some people bunching up on it. There's a drone out there, though, from Shepard that he managed to, well, hunt down before and get a pest deployed upon it. And as they burn the serial laser gate, they want to go for a push at some point. But this is a very well-hidden Evil Eye right there, taking some chip damage down at the SSG players. It might not matter much at the end, but you never know. If they're going to be down at 1 HP, and that one Zep could have been the difference in the end. There's going to be a Selma deployed, wondering if they have anything in a position to stop those from detonating. Doesn't seem to be the case, and that means the Maestro will quickly have to reposition.
Yeah, hops up to a bit of safety that still has that cover. There's a C4. There's a gone player. Talked about it's a bit of a danger before, but I guess it wasn't the rotation, and it's the play around Scyther with one more. And now it is just Faults in Skies to see if they can try and keep SSG here fighting along the top. They're going for a bit of a swing and a whip. There's still obviously Maestro cams that are going to be able to cause a problem. There's a swing onto Pixel. Doesn't quite get the full connection. 15 seconds. Empire are just sort of dancing. They're giving them little tastes, little flavors of different bullets and guns. Either side, either swing. Faults gets one, gets two. Right across the beam of the big bar, but with a handful of seconds, can't get the third. And it is an attempt at a plant here, but Empire either side. Russia, they progress. EU stops the day that NA is having so far. And SSG can surmount one opponent today, but the second takes them to the lower bracket.
The second indeed sends them to the lower bracket, and as I said before, after they win, there's just some quick fist bumps that were going out.